Hi, I'm Megan and welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to share with you some of our favorite eggless breakfasts. Now I don't have to tell you all, the price of eggs right now is absolutely ridiculous. They keep going up and up and up. They have certainly not went down in the past couple months. They just keep going up. Some of it is inflation, yes, but eggs have risen at a higher rate than that. There has been the bird flu that has affected the supply, but unfortunately it's also corporate greed. Some of the largest egg producers have announced record-breaking profits. So hopefully they'll go down soon. I don't think that's realistic, but in the meantime, we can still make easy and delicious breakfasts without using eggs. So hope that you get some new breakfast ideas to try from this. Let's get into these recipes. I'm going to make a smoothie. Now, I didn't follow an exact recipe this morning. I just had a few things on hand that I wanted to use up. So I'll show you how I made these. I didn't follow a specific recipe, but I just wanted to share this idea with you. If you're not a big breakfast person, smoothies are great to make. They're things that you can take with you, whether you're out running errands or going to work or school or, watching after the kiddos. And, with the fresh vegetables and fruits, you're getting vitamins and nutrients. And with the fruits, you're getting natural sugar. So that can kind of give you a little natural boost in the morning. So again, use whatever you've got on hand, whatever you prefer. This is just what I'm using today. I have this package of frozen blueberries. There's not a lot left in this pack, so I want to use it up. I also have some strawberries that I'd washed and cut up. They were in my refrigerator. I do that as like meal prep so that we can have it for breakfast or snacking. I have these left and I don't want them to go bad, so I'm going to use those. I have this banana that is almost to the point of being overripe, which will be perfect for the smoothie. As you can see, we have just a little bit of orange juice left in this bottle, so I'm going to use that. And then for the orange juice, for my husband and I personally, orange juice a lot of times can be just a little too acidic for our taste. So I'm going to add in just a little bit of honey to kind of counteract that. But if your fruit is sweet enough, you don't need the extra honey. If you do want to add a little bit of sweetener, you can also add maple syrup or sugar. And for the liquid in your smoothie, you can use any kind of juice really. You can use milk, you can use almond milk. I use that a lot. So like I said, these are totally customizable. Just use whatever you've got on hand or whatever you all like. To make this smoothie, I'm using this Ninja blender. I got this years and years ago on QVC and I love it. It's awesome. You can use a regular blender. You can also use an immersion blender. I like to add my liquid into the blender or these little cups that come with the Ninja. I like to add the liquid first. Then it doesn't really matter the order that you add things. So I'm just going to add the strawberries, the blueberries, and the banana. Then I'm going to place the lid on that. I'm going to pulse that. This Ninja has a single serve option when you're using these cups. So I did that until the fruit was all broken down. And then I decided to add in just a couple ice cubes. If you're using all frozen fruit, you don't really have to add the ice cubes. And then I'm going to add my little bit of honey, place that back on, whiz it for just a couple seconds, and then that's it. The smoothie will be done. All right, here is the finished smoothie. Now, like I said, this is totally customizable. Add whatever you like or whatever you've got on hand. Now, for my husband, I a lot of times will make the smoothies like this, but I'll add in some protein powder for him, like when he's come home from the gym. You can also add peanut butter. You can add yogurt, chia seeds, oats. You can add kale, spinach, and you can use whatever fruit or combination of fruit that you want. So like I said earlier, this is a great breakfast if you're someone who's not a big breakfast person. You don't want to necessarily eat something, but you still want to give your body, something to give you energy and vitamins and nutrients, especially, after the long fast that you've had since dinner the night before. And if you are a breakfast eater, smoothies are great to go along with your breakfast. Again, they just give you added vitamins and nutrients. So this is really yummy, and I love that you can make smoothies using really whatever you've got on hand. It's a great way to use up leftover fruits and vegetables. First up, I made strawberry cream cheese Danishes. I've never made Danishes like this before. This was my first time trying it, and they were delicious. I'll include a link to the recipe that I used in the description box below. I did kind of change up the cream cheese mixture, which I'll explain that in just a little bit, but here are the ingredients that I used. You'll need some powdered sugar, brown sugar, Crescent rolls. I've got some strawberry cream cheese, some strawberry jam. You can use strawberry jam, jelly, preserves, whatever you've got or prefer. I'm using some homemade strawberry jam that my Aunt Kathy made. I've got some milk and butter. I've got my oven preheating to 350 degrees. I'm going to start out by making like the crescent roll heart shapes. So I'm taking some of the crescent rolls, as you can see, I've got 2 triangles here. I'm pinching that perforated edge together and then rolling it back up, but I'm going to leave out just a portion of the crescent roll dough that I don't roll up, if that makes sense. I'm going to do the exact same thing to 2 other rolls and then put the flat pieces together just like this. I know it's a little weird to explain, but as you can see here, you basically have a rolled end on each side and then kind of a flat side in the middle. And then using a serrated knife, I'm going to cut these into equal pieces. I'm going to place one of the little pieces onto a greased cookie sheet, lay the little crescent roll on there, and then for the little flat end, you just want to kind of pull that down to form just basically a heart shape. So just kind of use your fingers, play around with it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you're just making a little heart shape. And once you've got the overall heart shape done, you want to take your fingertips and kind of make a dent in the middle of the heart where you're going to put in your filling. In this bowl, I've got some melted butter. I'm going to add a little bit of brown sugar to that. Give it a stir, and then you can brush it. I just spooned it, but you just want to put it over the crescent roll dough. Now for the cream cheese portion, the recipe calls for you to combine powdered sugar, vanilla, softened cream cheese, and strawberry jam. You can totally do that, but I had a couple tablespoons left of this strawberry cream cheese on hand and I needed to use it up. My husband really loves to take Triscuits, just the plain Triscuits, and dip it into strawberry cream cheese as a snack. And so he had pretty much eaten this whole container, but like I said, we had a couple tablespoons left and I wanted to use it up, so that's what I'm going to use. I'm just going to add the cream cheese on there, spread it around, and then we're going to add the strawberry jam, spread that around, and then this is going to go into the preheated oven, and you'll bake this for about 15 to 17 minutes until the crescent rolls are golden brown. Now you can serve these just like they are. I like to add a little bit of a drizzle, and the recipe called for it. You just mix together some powdered sugar and milk, stir it until it's dissolved, and then just drizzle it over the Danishes. These were so good, and I've made these several times since sharing this with you all. Delicious. Next up, I tried a new recipe for maple sausage crescent roll-ups. I saw this months ago on Taylor Elmore's channel, and I've been meaning to make them. I'm so glad that I did. These were delicious. They were so good. I highly recommend you all give this recipe a try. So I apologize that I don't have the original packages that these ingredients came from, but basically all you need are crescent rolls, maple sausage links. If you can't find maple sausage links, or if you don't have them on hand, I'm sure you could just use turkey sausage or, just regular sausage links, and then some maple syrup. I'm going to start out by cooking up my sausage links. Really, you can cook these any way you prefer. You can do it in a skillet over the stove. You could bake them in the oven. I'm opting to use my air fryer this morning. I just didn't feel like waiting around for the oven to heat up. I believe I cooked these links at 330 degrees for about 5 to 7 minutes. Now I'm going to take my crescent roll dough and wrap them around each cooked sausage. And again, I apologize, I don't have the packaging. I'm using some leftover crescent roll dough that I had from, a couple nights ago. But I'm just taking a triangle of the dough, wrapping it around each sausage, and then I'm going to set that to the side and, continue through until you use up your sausages and crescent rolls. Next, I'm going to brush on some maple syrup, and then they'll be ready to put into the oven. I'm actually going to put these back into the air fryer. I already had it out and had it heated up, and it worked out perfectly. So I cooked these, I kept it on 330 degrees, and I just baked them for about 10 minutes. You just want to make sure that the crescent rolls are golden brown and cooked all the way through. Here is the plate. Now, obviously, this was a Valentine's Day themed breakfast, and so I served it with a heart-shaped fried egg, but absolutely not required. We're trying to go for eggless meals here. But you could just serve the crescent-wrapped sausages along with some fruit and maple syrup for dipping. Really yummy breakfast. I made Copycat Chick-fil-A chicken minis and their yogurt parfait. I love the chicken minis. I didn't follow a recipe for this. I just read the description on their menu and kind of went from there. So let me show you what I used to put these together. So here's what the Chick-fil-A menu says about their chicken minis. It says bite-sized Chick-fil-A nuggets nestled in warm mini yeast rolls that are lightly brushed with a honey butter spread. So with that in mind, I decided to start with the yeast rolls. I thought these Sister Schubert's Parker House style rolls would work. They look like the same kind of shape and size and texture, and they were like spot on. I wonder if this is what Chick-fil-A actually uses, because they were so close. Now for the chicken nuggets, obviously, I don't know exactly how Chick-fil-A makes their nuggets. So what I did was I used the Southern style chicken nuggets that I get at Sam's Club. They're not exactly like Chick-fil-A. They do have more of a pickly taste to me, but they're pretty close. So I'm going to use those. And then for the honey butter spread, I'm just going to use some softened butter, honey, and a little bit of powdered sugar, as well as just the tiniest little pinch of salt. I'm baking the Parker House rolls according to the package instructions. In this little bowl, I've got my semi-melted, semi-softened butter. I'm going to add in some honey. Like I said, just a tiny little pinch of salt. It doesn't really make it salty. Just remember, salt is a flavor enhancer. So it's good to use even in sweet applications because it just enhances the flavors. Then I'm going to add just a tiny pinch of powdered sugar. And like I said, I didn't use a recipe. I don't have exact measurements for you. I just added, as much honey and powdered sugar to reach the sweetness that I wanted. So I've got that done. I'm going to set it to the side. Now for the nuggets, of course, you can cook them however you would like. I'm going to cook them in my air fryer. I do at about 380 degrees for maybe 5 or 6 minutes. Flip them over and cook them for another 5 or 6 minutes or so until they're nice and crispy and warmed all the way through. Once the rolls came out of the oven, I brushed them with some of that honey butter, and then I'm going to split the rolls, add one of the nuggets, and then that will be ready. And a quick note while I'm doing that, I do want to remind you, or in case you're new to my channel, I don't always cook breakfast for us. Sometimes we don't eat breakfast, which I know isn't good for you. But if we do have breakfast, normally it's like toast and scrambled eggs or a frozen breakfast sandwich or oatmeal, something like that. One of the main reasons why I wanted to do these What's for Breakfast videos is, of course, to inspire you, but also to inspire myself and encourage myself to try new things for breakfast and to actually eat breakfast and get better about it. So I hope that you can get some inspiration from these videos. I know I really do. All right, so for the side, I'm going to make a Copycat yogurt parfait with granola. Chick-fil-A uses Greek yogurt, which you can totally do. I don't prefer Greek yogurt personally though, so here's what I'm going to use. I've got some plain vanilla yogurt. This just came from Walmart. For the granola, I like the oats and honey granola. And then for the fruit, I'm using strawberries and blueberries. That's what Chick-fil-A uses. That's what I've got on hand. This is so easy. All I'm going to do is take one of these little cups. You could do this in a bowl, in a mason jar, whatever you prefer. I'm adding some of the yogurt, and then I'm going to top that with some of the fresh berries, some of the granola, and then that's it. Super easy. All right, and here are the plates. So we have some of the chicken minis and the parfaits. This was so delicious, and it really did taste very similar to Chick-fil-A. These were super yummy. We really enjoyed them, and we'll definitely make them again. Next, I'm making honey ham biscuit sliders. I've made these a couple times before. They are so yummy. This recipe is from the plain chicken. As always, I'll have it linked in the description box below. Let me show you what you need to make these. For the biscuits, this recipe is a little bit easier if you use like the layered biscuits because you're going to pull the biscuits in half. But I am just using what I've got on hand today, which are these jumbo biscuits that I got from the Dollar General store. I was still able to pull them apart just fine. You'll need some honey mustard, honey, some ham. I'm using honey ham. And then I believe the recipe calls for shredded Swiss cheese. I have these slices, so that's what I'm going to use. And then we'll need some butter. I've got my oven preheating to 400 degrees. We're going to need to grease our pan. You can use butter or whatever method you prefer. I'm just using some cooking spray. I'm going to take my biscuits and pull them into 2 pieces, and I'm going to layer one of the halves of the biscuit on my baking sheet. Now, I know I showed you the Great Value honey mustard in the clip before, but I was looking in my fridge for something, and I found this little container of honey mustard dressing that we got from a takeout restaurant, so I'm going to use that just to use that up. Now, I'm going to add a little layer of the honey mustard, add a piece of the Swiss cheese, some of the ham, some more of the cheese, and then add a little more honey mustard to the top biscuit. Cover the biscuit, and then this is going to go into the preheated oven and bake for about 12 to 15 minutes. Now, I do veer off the recipe just a little bit, but you don't have to do this. This is just complete personal preference. So the recipe says to brush the biscuits with melted butter before you put them in the oven, and then to brush them with honey once they come out of the oven. I tried that the first time I made these, and it's good. There's nothing wrong with it. But just personally, I felt like the honey was way too sticky on the top of the biscuit. So what I like to do is combine the butter and the honey. So I put the biscuits into the oven. I don't brush anything on top of them. Once they're done and they come out of the oven, I take this little mixture here that I'm making, which is just melted butter and honey, and I brush the melted butter and honey over the biscuits. And here are those warm biscuits out of the oven with the honey butter brushed over them. And then here are the plates. So I just served some watermelon that we needed to use up with these. And like I said, these are so yummy. They are delicious. I hope you give these a try. Next up, I'm making banana bread overnight oats. I'll link the recipe that I pretty much followed in the description box below. And a quick disclaimer before I get into this recipe. Some of the breakfasts on this video, the lighting is off. I got a new camera and I was trying to familiarize myself with the different settings and things like that. So several of the shots they almost look overexposed to me, and I apologize about that, but just bear with me. I'm working on getting accustomed to the new camera and new settings and everything. All right, let me show you the ingredients. First up, we of course need oats. Now, I prefer to use like the instant oats, just use your preference. And then you need some kind of milk. Normally, when I make these, I use almond milk, but I didn't have any on hand today, so I just used the regular milk that we buy. You'll need a pinch of salt, some vanilla extract, maple syrup. You could also use honey or brown sugar or just regular sugar, a little bit of ground cinnamon, a ripe banana, and then kind of optional, but I would recommend, as long as you don't have like a nut allergy or something like that, are some chopped nuts. I prefer walnuts. You could use pecans if that's your preference. And then this particular recipe does not call for chia seeds, but a lot of times when I do overnight oats, I like to add them. It just adds some extra protein and nutrients. You don't have to add them if you don't want to. So to make these super easy, I've got a mason jar here. All I'm going to do is add all of my ingredients, give it a stir or a shake, and then place this into the refrigerator, and that's it. Now, if you've never made overnight oats before, don't worry, the oats get nice and soft. Just make sure you refrigerate this at least overnight, to give the oats a chance to absorb all of the liquid. Overnight oats are great to make ahead or meal prep. You can make a bunch on like a Sunday and have them throughout the week. They're great for work or school. You can send them with the kiddos or yourself or, your significant other. They're portable. You can heat these up if you like, but you don't have to. You can eat them straight out of the jar as is. If you do microwave them and you're using a metal lid, of course, just make sure you take that off before you microwave it. And I apologize for my little hand flutter there. There was a little like gnat or fruit fly swarming around and it was getting on my nerves. But anyway, like I said, I just mix everything together and put this into the fridge. By the way, these little lids, I will link them down below. I got them on Amazon. I love them. Of course, you can use metal lids if you prefer, but I like using these. Metal lids can kind of rust on you a little bit, so I like to use these plastic lids when I'm doing like overnight oats or my homemade honey mustard or ranch dressing, stuff like that. Now, to serve this up, like I said, you can just eat this straight out of the jar cold. I placed it into a bowl, though, and microwaved it more for the video. Normally, I'd just microwave it in the mason jar. And then as a little garnish, I added a little drizzle of extra maple syrup and a little sprinkling of cinnamon and the chopped nuts, and we were good to go. And this legit tasted like banana bread. Super yummy. If you like banana bread, I recommend you all give this recipe a try. And it's also good to have, to use up like ripe bananas instead of just banana bread as I normally do. But anyway, yummy little breakfast. All right, so next up, I know some of you may be like rolling your eyes just seeing the name of this recipe and be like, oh my gosh, really again? But just bear with me, be patient. Not all of us are super cool and, up on the TikTok. But I've seen these everywhere, as I'm sure many of you have. These are the viral TikTok cinnamon rolls. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, so on TikTok, a lot of times people will share different recipes or hacks, I guess the kids are calling them now these days. But anyway, these are basically just, you take canned cinnamon rolls, add a couple of ingredients to them, and they taste like homemade or like bakery style cinnamon rolls. So I made them once before, but I didn't get to try them. My husband and my siblings ate them and they said they were delicious. But I wanted to give them a try. And so I thought I would show you all how to make it just in case you haven't tried them yet. I highly recommend you give them a try. Sometimes a lot of the like viral hacks and stuff like that I don't find to be worth the hype, but I actually think this is worth it, especially for the upcoming holidays. Company, it's a great way to make a really nice breakfast that doesn't take a whole lot of effort. So here are the ingredients I'm going to use. First, you'll need some kind of canned cinnamon rolls. Now, most of the recipes that I've seen for this really recommend you using like the grand cinnamon rolls, and I think those turned out well. I know Pillsbury and there may be some other brands have cinnamon rolls that aren't actually cinnamon rolls. They're more like biscuits. I would not recommend you using those. I would use some form of like the actual cinnamon rolls. Now, you can use whatever different brand or variety you like. I saw these pumpkin spice ones and I thought that would be a nice little yummy fall treat. So that's what I'm going to use. And a quick note, I am having the recipe. Most of the recipes that I've seen call for 2 cans. I'm only going to use 1, and I'll link the recipe in the description box below for you. Now, aside from that, you need some heavy whipping cream, and really you can stop there. But like I said, most of the recipes I saw called for you to go a little bit further and add some butter, brown sugar, and then a little bit of cinnamon. But because I'm using these pumpkin spice rolls, I decided to use some pumpkin pie spice. All right, let me show you how to put these together real quick. I've got the oven preheating to 350 degrees. I've sprayed my baking dish with some cooking spray. I'm going to remove the cinnamon rolls from the package and place them into the baking dish. And you do want to spread these out a little bit. You'll see how much these rise in just a second, so give them a little bit of room. Now we're going to pour the heavy whipping cream over. And then, like I said, you could stop there and just bake these. However, we are going to take some melted butter, add in the brown sugar and a little bit of the pumpkin pie spice or cinnamon if you prefer. I'm going to whisk that together and then pour that over the rolls. And as you can see, this is not at all a healthy dish. This is a once in a while special occasions. I think this would be great for like Christmas morning or Thanksgiving morning or the morning after Thanksgiving. Great for company. So at this point, we are going to cover this with foil. This is going to go into the preheated oven. And I baked these for about 30 minutes and then I removed the foil and baked them for another 5 minutes or so. Once they came out of the oven, this is what they look like. And then I warmed up the icing that came in the package, drizzled that over them, and then that was it. Here is the plate. I just served this with some fresh fruit. These were delicious. They were so good. I only could eat half of one, but they were yummy. And they taste like a bakery or a homemade cinnamon roll. So if you're not a big baker, or like I said, if you're looking for something for company or a quick breakfast, I recommend you all give this a try. Next up, I'm making cinnamon toast. Cinnamon toast is honestly probably my absolute favorite breakfast. I don't know why. It's so simple. And like I said, I'm not a huge sweets person, but for some reason, cinnamon toast is an exception to that. I just love it. And it so reminds me of being a kid. My mom used to make it for us when we were smaller, although she made it differently than how I make it. So let me show you how I like to make it. To get started in this bowl, I'm going to add in some softened butter. Then I'm going to add ground cinnamon and just plain white sugar, and I just eyeball it. I'll try to find a recipe in the description box below. You know what? I'll link the Pioneer Woman's recipe. I'll link hers in the description box below. I've never tried it, but I'm sure it's delicious. I think she also adds a little bit of vanilla, which you can totally do. So once I've added my cinnamon and sugar, I'm going to stir that until it's really well combined. And as you can see here, I added a little bit more cinnamon just from sight. It looked a little lighter to me than what I like. So once I've got that well combined, I'm just going to take my bread slices. I'm going to generously slather each piece of toast with the cinnamon, sugar mixture, and butter. And you want to make sure that you get, everything. Like Jeff Morrow says, crust to crust is a must. And then I'm just going to pop this into my oven at 350 degrees and bake this for about 6 to 10 minutes. It just depends on how you like your toast, brown. And then the last minute or two, I do like to broil it. So here is that cinnamon toast out of the oven. I like to cut it on a diagonal. remember being a kid, my parents used to cut our sandwiches on diagonals, but this is the cinnamon toast. I served it up this morning just with some fresh orange slices. That was breakfast. So delicious. Now, like I mentioned earlier, my mom makes it a little bit differently, and to be honest with you, I make it that way sometimes too if I'm feeling really lazy, and that way is just to take butter, toast the bread with the butter, sprinkle on some cinnamon and sugar, and then pop it into the oven. There's nothing in the world wrong with that, but I can say that if you mix the butter and the cinnamon and the sugar together first, I don't know what it is about it, but it's like the sugar dissolves better. It caramelizes to the bread better. So doing it the way that I'm showing you is my favorite way to do it. But like I said, there's nothing wrong with just slathering it with some butter, sprinkling some cinnamon and sugar on top, and doing it that way. Just as long as you get breakfast on the table, that's all that matters. But that was my breakfast this morning. So yummy. All right, that's it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it and you got some new breakfast ideas to try. If you did like it, hit the thumbs up button below and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.